In this tutorial, I want to describe the available audio effects in the free version of Hitfilm. There are a total of 16 audio effects, but 3 of them are only available in the Pro and Creator versions. You can apply any of these 3 effects to an audio clip, but they will introduce unwanted sounds. Some of the free ones are basic effects, whilst others are more involved. I'll work through them all, starting with the simple ones. No detailed knowledge of audio is required to use them. We'll start with a very simple one, audio reverse. This effect does what it says. It plays the audio backwards. There are 4 effects that simulate acoustic reverb. For those not familiar with this term, acoustic reverb happens when sound waves bounce off hard surfaces. Reflections of sound are created that spread out in many directions, then slowly decay as they get absorbed by other objects. The 4 effects simulate the acoustic reverb created within 4 different environments. These are small room, medium room, large room and cathedral. Each environment creates a different length of reverb, starting with the small room and increasing in length through to the cathedral. The effects have only one parameter, gain. This reduces or increases the overall volume. You may not notice the effect of the small and medium room effects, but I think that you will have noticed the large room and cathedral effects. 2 of the available effects modify the frequency response of the clip's audio to simulate a particular effect. These are the shortwave radio and telephone effects. Again, these 2 effects have only one parameter, gain. The balance effect is another simple one. A stereo audio clip has 2 channels. This effect pans the audio from one channel to the other. Adjusting the balance negatively pans the audio towards the left channel, and adjusting it positively pans it towards the right channel. A value of 0 has no effect on the audio. There is also a list of presets. Notice that there is an animation enable icon at the side of the balance parameter. This means that the balance value can be keyframed. The channel levels effect allows you to raise or lower the channel volume levels independently. The adjustment scale is in decibels, so isn't linear. I mentioned decibels briefly in part 1, and the subject is far too complex to go into here. It's sufficient to say that the decibel scale relates to the volume range as perceived by the human ear. Again, these values can be keyframed. The pitch effect is used to change how high or low a sound is perceived by our ears. It can be used purely as an effect, but its main use is on audio that's had its playback speed adjusted. As an example, if you speed up a piece of music, it will sound higher than it should do. I have a piece of music on audio track 1 which has been speeded up by a factor of 2. Remember what that sounds like. I'll play the same piece of music that hasn't been speeded up. That's what it should sound like. Now I'll enable the pitch effect for the clip on track audio 1. If you remember, the checkbox is used for disabling and enabling the effect. Now the semitone shift slider is at 0 by default, which has no effect on the pitch. Adjusting the semitone shift slider downwards will make it sound normal. The scale is in semitones, which is a 1/12 of an octave, so unless you have a good musical ear and can dial in the value, you'll have to experiment a bit to get the pitch right. With this particular speed, I found that a value of -11.52 is about right. The tone effect replaces the audio in the clip that it is applied to with a single continuous tone. There are two parameters, type and frequency. The type parameter allows either a sine wave or a square wave to be generated. A sine wave tone produces a pure sound, and a square wave tone produces a not so pure sound. The harshness of a square wave tone depends upon the frequency parameter. This sets the number of cycles per second, affecting the tone's pitch. There's another parameter, preset. This drop-down list displays many tone presets, which will be familiar to any musicians watching. The last available effect is the echo effect, and to demonstrate this I have a short clip with the sound of a finger snap. The effect has three parameters. The number of echoes determines how many times the audio is repeated. The default is 3, but how many echoes are created depends upon the length of the clip and the value of the delay parameter. For instance, this clip is about 2 seconds long. The first click occurs almost at the beginning of the clip. The default delay value is 1000 milliseconds, so the first echo should sound at it just past the 1 second mark. As you will have heard, the third echo is missing. That's because it should have sounded at just past the 2 second mark, but it hasn't because the clip is only 2 seconds long. The third parameter, fall off, defines the reduction in volume of each successive echo. For example, the default setting of 50% will cause the first echo to have half the volume of the clip audio. The second echo volume will be half the volume of the first echo and 25% of the clip audio, and so on. Now, because of the length of the clip, I have to reduce the delay parameter to demonstrate this. All the available effects have varying degrees of usefulness. For instance, when are you likely to require your audio to play backwards? Unfortunately, the really useful audio effects are only available in the Pro and Creator editions. The noise reduction effect, for example, is essential for cleaning up background noise. That about wraps it up as far as Hitfilm is concerned. Mind you, I've said that before, haven't I? If you're unsure about anything, or have any specific questions, leave a comment and I'll try to answer. Until the next tutorial, bye for now.